Hey everyone, this video will be different than my regular content. Today I'm doing a video on the lore of the Bloody Queen, aka Mary. Before we start, I want to thank my sister for the Mary gameplay. She's a Mary main and was kind enough to share some gameplay with me. I've been kind of struggling with Mary gameplay because, I get against Griffins that are all try-hardy, and I'm not a Mary main, and so I struggle a little bit, but we're just gonna ignore that. But back to the subject of lore. If you want to check my first video, you will see I did a lore analysis on Dream Witch. It's not that great, and if you want a good lore analysis video for Dream Witch, I recommend you check out Fern Feather's video because it is really good. Anyways, the reason I wanted to do Mary's lore isn't because she's one of my favorite characters, but because I feel like a lot of people misunderstand her lore. They think the lore is based off Bloody Mary when it's actually based off Marie Antoinette. I mean, her hunter persona is definitely based off of Bloody Mary. The mirror is related to, look in the mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times and she'll come and, kill you or something. So, I'm just going to be doing a lore here, and I just want to say that it's pretty much confirmed by now she's based off Marie Antoinette. In her deduction 9, it says, "Spread the word about Marie Antoinette's ugly life." That's a direct excerpt from deduction 9. And they refer to her multiple times as Marie Antoinette in the deductions. So, I mean, it's basically just canon that she's based off it. So, I did a lot of research on Marie so I could be able to do this video. Her first deduction, titled Marriage, reads, "Secret letter 1. The king's brothers are making fun of one of his ridiculous flaws and waiting for a chance to take over the throne. So long as the queen doesn't give birth to a child, such gloomy delight won't end." Taking evidence from Marie Antoinette's life, for the longest time after their marriage, they were unable to conceive a child due to the king's unknown medical condition. This caused his brother to come and give him a talking to, which afterwards they were able to conceive. This leads me to believe that the same conflict is being set up within Mary's life, hence the line, "So long as the queen doesn't give birth to a child, such gloomy delight won't end." Marie was married to Louis when she was 14 and he was 15, and they only had their first child 8 years afterwards. Mary's second deduction is titled Summer Palace and reads, "Secret letter 2. Mary is a true individualist. She only thinks about herself and whatever that is fashionable. The young and naive queen has no idea how powerful rumors are. The deterioration of the royal authority is about to spread from the Palace of Versailles. People are going to love the rumors about the king's incompetence and the queen's ferociousness." This gives us more insight to how others thought about the royals. In Marie Antoinette's life, she was known to always be dressed up, often setting the most popular fashion trends for France. However, I don't believe the line she only thinks about herself is completely accurate. Marie was known to be kind, even apologizing for stepping on her executioner's foot right before her death. Although I can believe she wouldn't understand the struggles of her kingdom, the deduction states that people are going to love the emphasis on rumors of the king's incompetence and the queen's ferociousness. When you're in a tough position, one of the common emotions is envy. It would make sense that the angry citizens would want to spread rumors about the people who lived so lavishly while they suffered in poverty. This is further supported as the word ferociousness means wanting or devouring great quantities of food. It can also mean having a very eager approach to an activity, but I believe it's the first definition, as back in France, it was if you were ate a lot of food and you were seen as rich because you could always have something to eat because you were so well off and you never suffered in poverty like the people of the kingdom did. Mary's third deduction, titled Friend, reads as follows. Rumor 1. Princess Lamballe is the queen's closest friend. Such a relationship makes the young and lonely queen lightheaded. I heard there is a shameful secret about the two of them. I find I should mention the description of the deduction. It says, "When you can't find any comfort in marriage, friendship becomes exceptionally important." This deduction indicates that Mary and Princess Lamballe may have had a romantic relationship, which you could say isn't true since this is a rumor, but the description of the deduction makes me think it was probably romantic. If not, they were at least very close. This would just further tarnish Mary's reputation and could even lead to one of the excuses they would use to behead her. Marie Antoinette was presumably falsely accused of child abuse as one of the excuses for her execution. The fourth deduction, Polignac Salon, reads, Secret letter 3. Encouraging Countess of Polignac to replace Princess Lamballe at the Summer Palace is a good thing. She is humble, elegant, and charming, but this angel with violet eyes costs even more than a Madame Pompadour. She will build a new social alliance for us so that we can turn away those meritorious nobles and political advisors from Austria and keep them away from the center of glory. This excerpt seems to me as though the rumors got to the palace about Mary and Limbaug's relationship, so instead they brought a noble lady named Countess Polignac to replace Princess Limbaugh at the summer palace. This just further confirms my past suspicion about the relationship. Countess Polignac was also brought in as stated, she will build a new social alliance for us so that we can turn away those meritorious nobles and political advisors. If Countess Polignac had a lot of positive connections, it would be smart to stay close to her. Fifth deduction, titled Child, reads as such. Rumor 2. It's a girl. No one expected that the king could return to normal. It's said that the birth lasted for 7.5 hours, and that Princess Limbaugh was the first person barging into the room. The description for this deduction reads, the Queen of France giving birth is not purely a private matter. Relating this back to Marie Antoinette, she didn't have much, if any, privacy in her life. People would always be watching the Queen of France. I believe Mary was in a similar situation, supported by the description saying that her giving birth wasn't purely a private family matter. Also, yeesh, 7.5 hours? That must be painful, especially since they didn't have a lot of medicine back then. The fact that the child was a girl, probably disappointing for the royal family at the time, because they would have wanted a king to rule next. Princess Limbaugh was the first person barging into the room after the birth, though. It seems like Identity V is trying to make it more and more obvious they had something going on. The sixth deduction, titled Throne, reads, Secret Letter 4. Old nobles who have lost their glory, new nobles who have yet to come out of the shadows, ladies-in-waiting who have been deposed, ugly women who must obey the rules. These unwelcome groups gather in Belvedere, concocting poisonous rumors in that secret chamber. They feigned sympathy toward the king's life and only went after the young queen, who was radiant and joyous. This deduction explains how the citizens of France went after Mary for her lavish lifestyle, and how they were determined to tarnish her reputation. Notice how it says they feigned sympathy for the king, meaning they faked it basically, yet they publicly went after Mary because she was seen as the most royal and wealthiest out of all. Deduction 7, titled Defenders of Monarchy, reads, Rumor 3. The Count of Provence and the Count of Artois set up their headquarters in Coblentz, declaring war on rebels. Yet the king and queen are in trouble having adopted the Constitution. They abandoned the dignity of the royal family in order to survive. What a sad joke. So, if we conclude that they approved of a new constitution, it seems it's implying that they only did it to satisfy the citizens and not because they actually cared. I don't doubt this. If they feared what the citizens thought of them, then they would actively try and please the citizens. This is in Marie's story too. They did try and please the citizens, but they could never actually understand what the citizens were going through, so they couldn't be of any real help. Deduction 8, titled Punishment, reads, Rumor 4. Princess Limbaugh remained by the queen's side, but the lovely Countess of Polignac escaped from France with her family early on. She still writes to the palace without fail, hoping that one day the king may be back in power, and she will be a loyal friend once more. The description for this deduction says, one can only tell who their real friends are at the toughest moments, but then we don't usually want that to really happen. This deduction is talking about how, now that the castle and the members are in danger, Princess Limbaugh stuck by while Countess Polignac left. This is making it even more clear that Princess Limbaugh really did care for Mary, not just because of her social status, but for who she was. This is just more evidence to their relationship being romantic. Deduction 9, titled Freedom, reads, Secret Letter 5. The goal of the revolution is to overthrow the king and autocracy, and so we must destroy the queen, and it's best to attack the queen for her identity as a woman, blame all kinds of evil, moral corruption, and perverted behaviors on this Austrian she-wolf, spread the word about Marie Antoinette's ugly life, and let the world know of her horrible reputation. It's not a hidden fact that sexism and misogyny were out of control for a while, and given that this takes place likely around the 1700s, it would only be worse. You can see it clearly in this deduction. They want to blame everything on Mary only because she is a woman, even though she didn't have nearly as much power and control as the king would. The final deduction, deduction 10, titled Farewell, reads, Secret Letter 6. In just a few days or a few weeks, Paris will forget that there was once a queen named Marie Antoinette who was beheaded, and people will miss the joy they had trampling the royal family and look forward to a new king at the same time. The revolution will be successful someday, but it won't be based on the fake evidence of today. This is the final deduction and the conclusion to the story. They believe that this will all be forgot about, that the citizens will move on to a new king, and the revolution won't be successful because of the events that just took place. I don't know about Identity V's universe, but going off our real world, we know that we haven't forgot about the tragic story of Marie Antoinette, who was one of the many victims of the Bloody Revolution. As for the revolution succeeded in more ways than one. So, what is the bigger story? This story is not one of a bloodthirsty ruler, but that of a misunderstood young queen. Mary was originally Austrian, and she was married into the royal family, dressed up like a doll as to set the latest trends with little privacy. She was naive and wasn't aware that every day her reputation became more and more tarnished. Probably only having Princess Lamballe to feel close to, she was lonely. Because her lifestyle was so lavish all the time, she couldn't understand the citizens. Once the revolution started, she was the prime target as she was the fancy rich woman in the monarchy. Mary died alone, and her story is a lot more tragic than people give credit for. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm excited to make a video about lore, as I find videos like these very interesting, but I'd also like to remind you that this is all my interpretation of her deductions based on my knowledge of Marie Antoinette. Speaking of which, I would like to credit Captivating History's video on Marie Antoinette. I had prior knowledge of Marie, but this video explains her life and her story well, so if you're interested, definitely check it out. I'll link it in the description box down below. And thanks for watching, if you did watch all the way to the end. If you like this video, I'll definitely do more. Maybe consider subscribing, because, I'll do more lore videos, and I know that they're pretty popular. Well, at least I think they're popular. I don't know how many lore videos are out there, but there's probably one for Mary already since she's a popular character. Anyways, bye. See you next week.